not much better. Edwards shooting left-handed, Doug slacking. Curry Ionescu delivered and was thrilling, and even that came with an exception. Kenny Smith took criticism for his comments of how Ionescu should have shot from the women's line. And then there was an exchange Reggie Miller set in motion when Miller said, Smith, you want Ionescu playing with dolls, which he didn't say, but just the invocation of that. To many, put a pall over the moment. Here is Kenny Smith with Stephen A. addressing it.
Actually, I was advocating for her more than anything else because basketball is muscle memory.
Right.
So he practices from one range, she practices from the other. There's even a study, I think, with somebody throwing darts, the guy who throws darts.
Okay.
And if you move him out one step, his accuracy changes dramatically.
Ionescu chose the distance, says that's where she shoots from. Israel?
It's just a shame in this situation where you should be prepared. If you're calling the situation, you're calling the battle of the sexes, you should be prepared to speak about the moment for what it actually is. Now, that's not to say that people weren't talking about this the way Kenny Smith was talking about it. Fine, you can bring that up, but then further the conversation and understand that this is about women being able to say, hey, the sky is the absolute limit. And then you have him sort of mansplaining it in his apology. I don't need to hear from you why you think Sabrina Ionescu should have been shooting from a closer distance. Unless it's coming from Sabrina Ionescu herself, don't need to hear your explanation on it. Just tell me why it's culturally significant, and I don't think I got enough of that. Instead, we get more of this.
Yeah, I think Kenny, what he said was factually correct. Yes, like it is probably what Steph is used to. Hear me out. It is probably what Steph is used to, but he missed the point of this competition entirely. It was to even the playing field with the exception of, I think, the ball. Because if, let's say, Sabrina did shoot from the WNBA line and then she won, that section of the population that didn't even want to watch this event to begin with is just going to flood comment sections saying she got a handicap, she was helped out, she got a handout, this doesn't prove anything. So the whole point was to do it on the same stage to prove that the difference in between the games is essentially non-existent. And for the record, 26 points won the actual NBA three-point contest, did it not? And Steph Curry beat her by a money ball? Like, I think he was way off the line.
Dano, your view of it all?
Tony, look, I understand, too, what Kenny was trying to say. And I don't think there was any malice behind what he was trying to say. We live in a world where everybody parses their words and, like, all of a sudden wants to pile on. I'm going to take the guy's resume here and say that he's an advocate not only for women's sports and for women playing basketball, but women in general. Like, I'm not going to go down that path with him. But I also think that the thing about that makes TNT captivating is the rawness of the conversation. I didn't necessarily love Reggie piling on, but that's the rawness of those guys' conversations on a nightly basis when they're on that platform, whether it's on the game broadcast or in the studio. So that's just kind of what I took away from it. I think that Sabrina did break the glass ceiling in some ways, right? And I think that she deserves a lot of credit. I just think Kenny went about it wrong.
I guess so.
Listen, if she had scored a 10, and then you're thinking, right, she should have shot from closer. I didn't like the idea because I thought she was going to shoot from the WNBA line. I thought she was tremendous. Going into the weekend, the biggest name in basketball was Caitlin Clark. Sabrina Ionescu stole the moment on Saturday. She handled everything. Steph Curry handled everything perfectly. Before, during, and after. They were champions.
I think we need to have a conversation, and this has happened with the story in the last couple of weeks. The great Cheryl Swoops and the great Caitlin Clark. Factual inaccuracy hedges opinions is not opinion. It's just factually incorrect. It's wrong information. How do we know this? Well, again, an age is not a debate. That's not up for opinion. Caitlin Clark is not 25 to 22. We talked about that. The 40 shots per game, she doesn't shoot 40 shots per game. Okay, we talked about that. 19. Look at the shot chart for Sabrina Ionescu last year's WNBA season. This is not from the WNBA line. This is further back. This is information that's readily available. So if you're to tell me this is where she shoots from, that information is out there, and for commentary, you should have that information. Without that, in the absence of that, you just say, I was wrong, and you move on. We'll move on. Fire on that.